Hello, welcome back. Today, giving you another thought of the day that I just come up with these things, and I came across all this like just this morning, and I have a whole list of things, but I came across this about being in double confirmation and everything. I saw this thing about. I want to bring up these tweets and everything, and I saw these things about bias charts. I want to get into that. And here we go. So here's the first thing on bias charts, and I have the pointer article that I'm gonna go over too. But like, how do you use these? Do see they're good. They show whether something's factual, but my view, these are all opinions stating some kind of a fact, whether it's someone's own personal fact or a truth fact. They're all opinions stating some kind of fact, and you need multiple ones of these, multiple options to be able to make an informed decision, informed anything. You need multiple articles, multiple things from different points of views to confirm what the other is saying, if that makes sense. And I wanted to get into this a little Twitter post. I came across this at first too. I just want to read what this post is about Ad Fontes Media bias charts. And this post here says introducing a new that now they're incorporating web and podcasts, and 8.0 is here, right? For the first time they have web TV podcast sources. If you're looking for a source, there are more sources on the interactive version. Middle doesn't mean best. And to arrive at these ratings, we have a team trained analysts. So they're introducing this new 8.0 bias chart. And the Twitter post mentioned Pointer, and should you trust these media bias charts? And I'll go over this first and explain a little bit about more about double confirmation, what I've been growing up in as well. And they go on to say these controversial charts claim to show political lean credibility of news organizations. And the two part, all sides is the other one. And they say impartial journalism is an impossible ideal. That is, at least according to Julie Mastrine, unbiased news doesn't exist. Turn this off. Stop this music. Everyone has a bias. Every day, people and journalists. That's okay. It's okay. Everyone has a bias. Everyone has an opinion. Mastrine said it's not okay for news organizations to hide those biases. We can be manipulated into a biased outlet's point of view and not able to evaluate it critically and objectively. Objectively is the key word there. Understand where it's coming from, said Mastrine, marketing director for All Sides, a media literacy company focused on free people from filter bubbles. That's why she created Media Bias Chart, as readers hurl claims of hidden bias towards outlets on all parts of the political spectrum. Bias charts have emerged as a tool to reveal pernicious partiality. charts that use transparent methodologies to score political bias, particularly the All Sides chart and other from news literacy company Advantage Media, are increasing in popularity and spreading across the internet. According to Crowd Tangle, a social media monitoring platform, the homepages for those two sites and the pages for their charts have been shared tens of thousands of times. But just because something is widely shared doesn't mean it's accurate. Are media bias charts reliable? Why do you think they exist? Traditional journalism values a focus on news reporting that is fair and impartial, guided by principles like truth, verification, and accuracy. But those standards are not observed across the board in the news, in parentheses and quotes, news content that people consume. People, uh, about people consume. Tim Groening, a communications professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, said some consumers take too much of the news they encounter as impartial. When people are influenced by disclosed or by undisclosed political bias in the news they consume, that's pretty bad for democratic politics in general. Pretty bad for our country to have people to be consistently misinformed and think they're informed. If undisclosed bias threatens to mislead some news consumers, it also pushes others away, he said. When you have bias that's not acknowledged but is present, that's really damaging to trust. Kelly McBride, an expert on journalism, ethics, and standards, NPR's public editor and the chair of the Craig Newmark Center for Ethics and Leadership at Poynter, agrees. If a news consumer doesn't see their particular bias in a story accounted for, not necessarily validated, but at least accounted for in a story, they are going to assume that the reporter or the publication is biased. The growing public confusion about whether or not news outlets harbor a political bias, disclosed or not, is fueling demand for resources to sort fact from otherwise. Resources like media bias charts. Bias and social media. Masterine said the threat of undisclosed biases grows as social media algorithms create filter bubbles to feed users ideology, consistent content. Could rating bias help? Mastrine and Vanessa Otero, founder at the Advantage Media bias chart, think so. It'll actually make it easier for people to identify different perspectives and make sure they're reading across the spectrum that so that they get a balanced understanding of current events. Otero said bias ratings could also be helpful to advertisers. There's this whole ecosystem of online junk news of polarizing misinformation, these clickbaity sites that are sucking up a lot of ad revenue, and that's not to the benefit of anybody. Tara said it's not to be benefit of the advertisers, it's not to the benefit of society. It's just to the benefit of some folks who want to take advantage of people's worst inclinations online. Reliable media bias ratings could allow advertisers to disinvest in fringe sites. Groening, the UCLA professor, said he could see major social media and social platforms and search platforms using bias ratings to alter the algorithms that determine what content users see. Changes could elevate neutral content or foster broader news consumption, but he fears that the platform's sweeping power, especially Facebook and Twitter, censored a New York Post article purporting to show data from a laptop belonging to Hunter Biden, the son of President-elect Joe Biden. At the time this article was written, Groening said social media platforms failed to clearly communicate how and why they stopped and slowed the spread of the article. Social media platforms are searching for some sort of arbiter of truth and news, but it's actually really difficult to do that and not be a frightening totalitarian, he said. Is less more? The Advantes chart and the All Sides chart are each easy to understand. Progressive publishers are on one side, conservative ones on the other. It's just more visible, more shareable. We think more people can see the ratings this way and kind of begin to understand them and really start to think, oh, journalism is supposed to be objective and balanced, Mastrine said. All Sides has rated media bias since 2012. Mastrine first put them into chart form in early 2019. Otero recognizes that accountability comes at a price. Some nuance has to go away, and it's a graphic. Some nuance has to go away when it's a graphic, she said. If you always keep it to people can only understand if they have a very deep conversation, then some people are just never going to get there. So it is a tool to help people have a shortcut. But perceiving the chart as distilled truth could give consumers an undue trust in outlets. McBride said, over reliance on a chart like this is going to probably give some consumers a false level of faith. She said, I can think of massive journalistic failure for just about every organization on this chart, and they didn't all come clean about it. Asking people to go to this chart, asking them to take effort to understand and do that comparison, I worry would not actually be something people would do because most people don't care about news, he said. He would rather see a plugin that detects bias in users' overall news consumption and others from differing points of views. McBride questioned whether bias should be the focus of the charts at all. Other factors, accountability, reliability, and resources would offer better insight into what sources of news are best. She said bias is only one thing that you need to pay attention to when you consume news. What you also want to pay attention to is the quality of the actual reporting and writing and the editing. She said it wouldn't make sense to rate local news sources for bias, she added, because they are responsive to individual communities with different political ideologies. The charts are only as good as their methodologies. Both McBride and Groening shared praise for the shared methods of rating bias of All Sides and Advantes, which can be found on their websites. Neither Advantes nor All Sides explicitly rates editorial standards. The All Sides chart here's the All Sides chart. And I'm going to point out when I get to Hold on. I am back. So there's the Odd Fontes, and here's the all sides chart. So you see left, right, and what I'm talking about double confirmation. The article mentioned all points of view to be able to see all points of view from the left, from the right to the center to the slight left to the slight right. To see all points of view. What are they all saying? Not just stay in the middle, not just stay in the right, not just stay in the far left. What are they all saying? And get articles that you hear the same facts from the left and the right. That's how you can go about being a little better informed. That's how you can battle this whole idea of misinformation. Confirm using different articles from the left and then another from the right, maybe a third if it sometimes can come to that if you really need confirmation. Don't just stick in your own confirmation bias either. Like, what are these saying, and find others that say the same thing from another point of view. And read different points of views. That's the only thing. That's the only way that we're gonna get past this. If you're able to see different points of views. So there's the all sides, and then we also had the ad frontage, which is a little different. It's more of on a timeline chart thing. But here's the. It shows up a little smaller here, but you can always just do a search for ad fontes, and you'll get that quickly to come up. But that helps you see. Oh, you're reading this. It's on the left. So go to the other side about right here and read something. You read something from this far left Palmer report over here in this area, or daily, like you read something here. Go over here and on the same thing, if you want to go out that far, read something from Twitchy, WND, or News Punch. Or if you're here, MSNBC, find what OAN is saying. Or CNN, I can barely see. The Washington Times comes across the same, TMZ on the same side as CNN, or same area, Vice. See what the Washington Times is saying. New York Post. Epoch Times. I never know how to pronounce that one. But Reason, Vice, Forbes, and see as you get more factual. But read one thing on the left and another on the right on the same lines. Double confirmation territory. Confirm what the left is saying with what the right is saying. That's all I mean when I say double confirmation territory. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this informative, share it. My links are below. You can contact me or comment on this video, like this, give this a like or share. If you like any of this, then let me know how I'm doing. And until the next video,